Hello Multiverse, welcome to Omniverse Gamers. My name's Damian Bizzaio. This video is going to dissect another dynamic encounter. We're going to call this one Orcs Breach the Front Gate. Now this is from a brand new game I just started running at a local game store. The players are in this temple that they're kind of just doing their opening, like role-playing. We're kind of getting everybody together. And we've tied everyone to this temple, which the centerpiece of this temple is this glowing hammer called Day's Glory. Day's Glory is a weapon from one of the original priests of the god of war and light. The god of war took the power of the original goddess of light, love, and hope, and she fell in an ancient like god war way back in like the millennia ago. And this Hergo became a new god, and he forged a bunch of magical weapons using the divine light from the original goddess. And these weapons are how he spreads his divine power to his priests. So this Day's Glory sits at this temple. It's kind of like the centerpiece of this religion. Now, not only that, this temple sits at the edge of this town, which is kind of a war-torn town that's been like, it's a dwarven city that's run by the dwarves, but it's kind of at the border of two countries that have always been at war with each other. So the dwarves' capital is deeper into the caves, way like miles and miles into the caves. This is like their outer city where they do trade and stuff with other races and are more open and stuff. But humans and elves have all taken control of this. This town has shifted power over and over the centuries and stuff. So, but this temple has stood here for hundreds and hundreds of years, over 1,000 years now, and it's a symbol of hope. The temple itself is made of like the hammer glows, and parts of the temple are made of this magical glass that was forged by Hergo. The point of it is that the hammer glows throughout the city. Everybody in the city, the temple's kind of up on the hill, and everybody in the city can see this temple glowing, and it stands as a barrier and a protection, and of not only physical protection, because the caves where the orcs used to invade or like come for terrorism, this temple kind of sits at the edge of it to prevent that from happening, and also to show people that no, the light exists, you're all good. So the orcs of Agrigar are the Agrigar's this evil god of terror and destruction and chaos. So he gains power from fear, terrorism, pain. So his orcs normally they come and they just want to hit you in the knee, make you feel pain, like stab you but not kill you, like torture you in front of your family. They want fear and suffering and stuff. That's how their god gets power. So they have this chaotic way that they fight. But we're having this time in the campaign where there's this convergence and gods are falling and people are replacing gods. So the orcs have been acting differently. So at the start of this campaign, they're trying to convince the ambassador of the Duke. They're waiting for the ambassador of the Duke to come, and they're going to try to convince him that the orcs are doing things that they're not supposed to be, because they go on patrols down deep in the caves, the clerics of Hergo, and they know that the orcs used to be chaotic and just fighting just randomly, but lately they've been fighting with tactics and hit and run tactics, and they're using more militaristic and more deadly, I don't say deadly because they're already deadly, but they're coming to kill now and to control more than they are just to fight for no reason and to create terror. So the clerics are trying to convince the powers that be that we got to do something about this, and so we kind of start our game with waiting for this meeting. And my goal was to have the meeting kind of have a role play back and forth, and then the NPCs would leave and the players would be kind of stuck and this assault would come. But we run this game at the game store, and we only have 3-4 hours tops before the magic group comes in and the tournaments and stuff. So we have to be out of there. We have a very strict time limit. So they were playing and letting them do what they wanted to do. But at a certain point, I had to have this encounter, and it happened to have more NPCs in it than I wanted. But I just made it happen. So we'll kind of go through that. So this is a map that I just drew. I drew it on this little piece of graph paper, and I'll put a thing up of a better picture right here. You can see how. So right down here is where the hammer sits in this kind of encasement, like a magical encasement. These 3 walls here and this one, these 4 walls are all made of glass. There's super powerful magical glass that's going to stand the test of time. This silver temple will crumble, in a couple thousand years or whatever, but the glass things will stay here forever. And the point of that is so the glow of Day's Glory can glow throughout the city. There's a bunch of spots where there's glass and openings. So as you can see, I have the front gate right here. There's these hallways and there's these protective doors, and then there's inside of the temple, and there's an upstairs they're right here. And then there's an armory over here, there's a library right here, and there's some living quarters that guests can stay, and there's where they have the food and all that stuff, and the heating and stuff like that. And you can see there's another set of doors right here. Now my goal, this whole encounter, is to have the orcs. The orcs are going to come. They're going to fight them. Obviously, they're players. They want to fight the encounter. But at a certain point, this darkness is going to roll in with the orcs. This evil darkness, which is sapping. It's increasing the orc strength and sapping the light, basically. So they're coming. The orcs are coming to destroy that hammer. They want it. Some of the weapons of Hergo have been destroyed in the last few years. So the god Hergo is losing a little bit of its power. So the players kind of know this right off the bat, that the orcs are coming to destroy that hammer, and they have to defend it. I make sure I teleprompt that. But they're players, they want to fight. So the way I have this set up is that I want them, I'm not trying to railroad them, because they have other options, they have all kinds of options, but what I want narratively to start this game off is I want them to be fight their best, but eventually realize that they're overwhelmed, and to back up behind these two doors right here. And back here is a bunker that you could stay. It's kind of like a fallout shelter. They could stay there for 20 years during a siege, and they'd be fine. They have food, they have lodging, they have all the stuff they need. There's not any ways to get in and out, except they have a rogue with them who's a little tiny halfling, and he knows how to get out through the sewer. And he also knows that the way to crawl through the fireplace has like all these like traps and like things that prevent people from going down in. But he knows how to surpass that. He knows how to circumvent that to get to the roof. So they do have some options to escape, whatever. But they obviously they're all valiant. One of them's a cleric of the temple. One of them's like a friend of the head cleric, and the other two they just want to fight. They don't want to give up this temple basically. Plus I've made it pretty much clear with my exposition that if this temple falls, well, one, if the hammer's broken, the god's going to lose power. If this temple falls and the light goes out, these orcs, as I described these orcs coming into the temple, they're also everywhere. They can see through the glass. That's why I put this glass there. They can see what's going on around the city. The city's being sieged. So the orcs don't usually siege cities. They come, they do terrorists, they do like little hit and run, they like pain, they like screaming. This is like a full-on assault. The whole town is being assaulted by like more orcs than anyone's ever seen at once. But dial it down to focus on what the players are doing, they're being overrun, and they kind of piece together, oh my god, they're after this hammer, and they'll lead the head clerics with them, and this high-powered wizards with them, which I didn't really want, but they're there, and I have to deal with the NPCs, but I still want the players to be able to be the focal point. I want the players to just to decide this battle, not my NPCs. I don't like when my NPCs tell the players what to do. But because there's a head cleric and this really high-powered magic user, they kind of lean on them a little bit. But I played it as like the magic user's an old guy, and he just came here for a social meeting. He didn't come here to fight. Like he has a couple offensive spells, but like he's pretty much tapped out really quickly. And the head priest, I meant to have him fight really well, but he rolled really bad. So I just kind of role played it as he's old, and he's an older dwarf. Now he's getting to be 400. He was powerful in one at its time, and one of our players is like a Damphir, so he's really old. So he's seen this guy in action and knows he's a warrior, but he's also seeing him getting older and aging, and it's like there's a whole bunch of role-playing dynamics going on, which I just made up because of the way that he rolled crappy. But anyway, so when this, we do some role-playing for an hour or whatever, and then I have they hear screams, whatnot, the gates are breached. Before this cleric comes in, it's like the orcs are coming up from the combs, and like they're overwhelming us, and I barely got here, and then like the gate, you hear smashing at the gate, and the orcs breach the gate. And then now this combat is on. Now this is kind of a wave combat in a way, because I'm bringing people in, and then I'm adding, you'll see in this thing I have, it's a courtyard in the center here. These are arches, so it's wide open here. So there's these doors in the front that you can close, and close off all of the temple, because the gate's already breached. There's three different doors that can be breached. There's the gate, which are already breached. There's these two doors. But as I start the encounter, the orcs have already pushed through those front doors, the side doors. So they're like, oh my god. So the players are all over in this little library talking with the elder and the high priest. So they're all in this little library, and then bam, orcs just come running in, blasting through the doors. And then, so it's on. We have the high priest, a really high-powered magic user. We have two clerics that are just kind of low level, and then we have a scribe that's with this group. And then our party itself is a barbarian, a cleric, a war cleric, a thief rogue, and an evoker wizard. But they're all second level. They're really slow level, because I didn't know how many new players we'd get. It was one of those things with the game shop, I wanted new players to come, so we ended up everybody was kind of experienced, but either way. So boom, this is where our encounter starts. As you can see, like these are these people on our side, and the orcs are just breaching. And now they see that the orcs are breaching the other angle on the left there, but nothing they can do about it right now. They don't know what's going on. They can hear shouts on the other side. They know that I make it so that that they're in this battle, but there's obviously battles going around all over the temple, all over the city. Everything's happening. This is just total chaos. So we start our fight. It goes like a normal fight. They start to whittle down these orcs, but then the orcs are it's overwhelming. I have the magic user. The high-level magic user just starts, lightning bolt, fireball, and he's an evoker, so he's really helping them. They slaughter a lot of orcs right off the bat. The NPCs do, but more orcs just keep coming. And now the orcs have weak soldiers that just come in with the crappy armor, and they're just coming to they just come to swing, and they don't care if they die. They're fodder basically for their god. But then these clerics are wielding these weapons that have darkness just rolling off of them. It looks like smoke, but it's just really it's just darkness that's just rolling out, and it's making everyone stronger. So they're kind of blessing their their allies. And the orcs have a really low armor class, but the clerics are obviously way more robust. And the players kind of piece this together. And I think right now, in this battle, there's 2 clerics that they can see. So I'm giving them a chance I'm teaching them the different powers between the orcs and the clerics. And they quickly realize the clerics are where the power is, and that they're blessing their people. So, we fight, we back and forth. I'm not able to breach, but I'm able to stay where I am so that they can't close these doors. They're not able to close these doors because my orcs are in the way. They can't quite back up and be safe. Plus, there's a big courtyard right here to the other side, and they know that other side may or may not have been breached by now. So they're fighting a little more. Now at a certain point, they're going to see that more orcs are coming across the courtyard here. And so they know that whatever's happening on the west over there, the orcs are winning. The clerics are not winning. So they don't even know. They just know the Tamer's in jeopardy. They don't know if they're succeeding or not, how bad it is. So they come down to the corner here. They can see that no one has actually reached the hammer yet. So they're still deciding what to do. As those guys come across, I have the higher level magic user. They kind of back up, and there's a fireball. He comes and he just destroys those people in the center. But that's just window dressing because more come. They're being overwhelmed. So more and more people are just coming. And now this new cleric comes and he's super powerful, and they're just fighting. More come across, and they close these doors behind them. They close the door. They got the back door closed, but they also don't know there's 2 sets of doors. They know there's 2 sets of doors, so they don't know if the other side's been breached or not. They're just doing the best they can to defend what they know. So they're doing that. There's some more fighting going on. Now you can see how I'm having waves come from the side. A little bit every time I need a little bit more fight, a little more drama, I bring some more people from the other side. The magic user hits them. They make saves or not. They keep coming. I just keep the drama going. At a certain point, one of the cleric players who had closed the door, he hears battle behind him, behind the door. So now he knows someone's in that room. So he's going to open that door up, and he sees, oh no, there's orcs, and they're attacking the hammer, and now he's at hinge. One other cleric out there defending. He's fighting 4 orcs on his own, trying to fight them. So this cleric and our rogue start to deal with that section, while our barbarian and our wizard fight this front fight with the other clerics and stuff. So you can see now I have a 3-pronged fight. I have where they initially fought, I have the courtyard where they're coming across, and now I have where they've already breached, where they're trying to go. So now the players, they're kind of engaged, so they're there's a lot of things going on. This battle became crazy really fast, and they were like, some of the people playing in this game knew me, and they're like, oh, this is really cool. And one of the new players was like, man, we're gonna die. How are we ever gonna defeat this? This is a no-win situation. But I don't do no-win situations. I'm all about the threat. You think you're gonna die, but I did the math. They're fine. This is balanced perfectly. But I was scared for them for a while. I was like, well, it's not so balanced perfectly because it is, but the drama, it's just all about drama. It's all about, frantic and making them think that this is never going to happen. And, they do their thing. They finally end up taking some priests down. Now, while this is happening, this darkness is rolling in from behind. You can see where I'm kind of drawing it up here. This darkness is rolling in, and the clerics are bringing it in with them to try to dampen the light, the forces of darkness versus light. It's really symbolism. It's all that stuff. And it's just an impending doom as this darkness comes, because one of the Dampiers he escaped from Ravenloft, so he thinks this is the mist. It's not the mist, but in his mind, he's just like, oh shit, this is not good stuff. We don't want to deal with this. The battle ensues on a little longer. That just overwhelming. Eventually, they get to the point where they take those clerics down in the front, and they are able to close that door. But before they hear this, so as they're doing that, they hear some kind of chanting off in the west. Something's chanting this weird mumbly like guttural like thing, and they start to see this rune appear on the ground, and they don't know what the heck that is. They know there's some cleric doing something, and this rune's appearing on the ground as they're backing up. And the head cleric is wounded. He took one of the clerics hit him with their dart thing, and he failed his save throw. So he's choking. He's feeling weak, and he's just we got to protect this hammer. We got to back up and protect this hammer. So, and then the session's coming to a close. We have maybe 10-15 minutes left of our session. So and luckily they got the last orc down. They were getting the orcs down right at the end, and the head cleric's we gotta retreat. We gotta close these doors. We gotta get inside of here. We gotta protect this hammer, or the whole city's gonna fall if we don't get this hammer. So I didn't really want to railroad them there, but also the session was ending, and they were already kind of going there anyway. So I just had them. They decided we gotta close ourselves off. We're out of resources. We're low level. We gotta back up. We don't know what's happening. And then as they close the door, they can see through the glass in the front here. They see this rune, and they take out all the rest of the orcs. And they save the hammer, and out from this rune pops this massive just golem of it's a color. It's basically a flesh golem. It's a chaos golem. It's kind of like a thing I took a flesh golem and I kind of manipulated it a little bit. So it just peers out of the ground, this misshapen giant thing, And our barbarian player is just oh, I want to go fight that thing. And everyone else is like, no, don't, like, because, like, he's new and he's like, oh, why would he put something in front of us that we can't defeat? But I'm sometimes a kind of DM where I will put something in front of you shouldn't be able to defeat, and it's up to you to know that. It's like, I'm going to describe this thing's way bigger than you. Don't just go run at it because it's not going to be good. But they kind of talked the barbarian down, and they got themselves to protect themselves in this temple. So it was like, as you can see, this is a 3-pronged fight that kind of went in stages. And my original goal was to have them back up and retreat and hold themselves in the bunker, and that was not going to be a possibility for a while. I was kind of like, but they were fine. I was okay with them, winning or escaping or whatever they wanted to do. I was okay with it happening. But, like, the fact that this happened, just kind of, I narrated it and I kind of steered it to where I wanted it to go, and they just went with it. And now we have the end of that session with them closing themselves in the fallout shelter, and they can see this. They can see their next enemy, which is way overwhelming to them. So this will lead into our next encounter, which is going to be, I gave them the choice of either escaping to the sewer, taking the hammer away, so because the orcs are coming. The orcs are now, like, overwhelming the temple, other than the fallout shelter that they have. So they kind of, like, halfway, they half protect the temple. It's also half infiltrated. So they got some options of grabbing the hammer, going to the rooftops, and fleeing, grabbing the hammer and going south, defending this place to the death, or they ended up deciding that they want to retake this temple. So our next encounter, they get to plan. They have a whole 2 weeks to plan how they're going to take this temple, which is awesome because they're interacting with the game. This game started out with a bang, and now they're already a unit, and they're already working together to solve the problems that the narrative has presented to them. So this is just an example of it's a narrative-based combat, but it's a wave combat. It's an opener. It's an exposition. It's everything. I kind of tied in everything I possibly could, all my techniques, into this session 1 encounters. I always try to put the most into it because I have the most time to prepare for them. So this is like kind of a combination of all the techniques that I've talked about on my channel, and this is a way to make all of it come together and simple. And you can see I drew that map with crayon. It was simple, but it gets the point across. And all the players had a really good time. This was a really fun encounter, and it was, like, dynamic and fun. And a lot of roleplay happened through this encounter, and a lot of exposition this game has set up to go to the moon. And we'll see my next encounter when they take the temple back was also really epic and fun. So yeah, that's just another example of a dynamic encounter. I hope you like that. Hope it helped you guys get some inspiration for your own games. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Hope to see you soon, and keep on gaming.